Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Ines, and our new friend, Dennis. We're here to break down Ethris and everything in between. Guys, welcome to the stream. I'm so excited to finally have this sit down. Ines, this is what I think, this is interview 264, so at least 220 interviews since our last sit down. Man, how the hell have you been?
I'm good. It's been a very busy few months since we last chatted about Lithuania. Since then, I put out Objects in the Mirror on Zoop, which was successfully crowdfunded. I just sent out the digital copies for everyone who backed, and I'm printing it very soon, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I'm working on my graphic novel right now, Hummus, with a fantastic literary agency, and we're going to be pitching it to publishers very soon. So I'm very excited about that. We have Ethris, which is, the main focal point of my existence right now, which is coming out soon. And yeah, another mini series in the works with Dennis as well.
Wow, that is so cool. Dennis, the man of the hour. I remember when Ines was talking about when we were first talking about this and meeting you and how excited he was for this project. And after having a chance to read this, holy crap, I am in love with it too. Your art is just amazing, man. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been, really excited for the launch of Ethris. It's a dream come true for the both of us, actually. To get a book published, which is just amazing. And yeah, I've been, trying to answer emails and talk to people and get some new projects going. So I've been good. Not sleeping a lot, but working hard.
Hey, amen to that. I think we're all like chugging down the coffee today, right?
Yeah.
So Ines,
yeah, Dennis is gonna be.
Oh, go ahead.
Dennis is gonna be booked and busy this year, so lots to look forward from him.
With a brand new baby too. That is that has to be a hard juggle for you.
Yeah, I guess so. But drawing comics doesn't really feel like working to me. It gives me energy actually, and so that really helps. Also, I just want to be able to tell my little daughter when she's older, like, your dad's makes comics. It's
yeah, you can say that right now though, right? This book is coming out what, March?
Yeah.
So when is the final cutoff date? For everyone watching, right here is the link. Be sure to pre-order this today. Get in on this because I think the final cutoff is in February, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, last day of February 28th. It's a leap year, so get your orders in before that.
So Ines, my man, I mean, the first time we talked, it was about your self-published book. Almost what, a year later, maybe give or take some months.
Yeah.
You are getting published with a book. You have this one shot. This is a one shot, correct, or is this going to be a series?
Yes.
So you have this one shot with Dennis, another series with Dennis coming out, man. Congrats on all your success. You've been putting so much work into it. I know how passionate you were from our first talk, so it's awesome to see that you've taken that passion and just ran with it.
Thank you. It's been a very long journey, but I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. Working with Dennis has been the most satisfying experience I've had in comics. It's just like, it's so good when you work with someone who just gets you immediately. And we just have this synergy when we're working together. Like, we bounce each other ideas off each other. We agree to everything. Like, we always say like we're on the same wavelength, and that's just been a very gratifying experience.
So
Absolutely.
Dennis, this is your first comic. How does it feel to be published with your first book? I remember when me and us were talking, that was his biggest thing. He was saying how bad he wanted to get this book published for you, just because of it being your first work and everything you do. I remember the tweet that you were like, "This, I'm going to be taking my first dive into doing this full time," and it all came to fruition. This is surreal, almost.
It is surreal. It very much is. I'm not from the US, obviously. So when I was a kid, it was like very much impossible to get into American comic books. There was a little bit of internet back then, but not to a degree where I could email like an editor, or that would be like a ridiculous notion. So yeah. I just spent my entire life, I think, just practicing reading books, reading all types of books. I've changed my taste a lot, and I changed my style a lot. And then I got to a point where I looked at my collection, and there were some books that I picked up, and I was like, I think I could do this too. that's basically how I felt. And then some stuff happened at my job at the time, and then you know, in my personal life, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna go for it now. So I made a little Facebook account. I didn't have an account, and there was this page for writers looking for artists. I think, I don't even remember.
Connecting comic book writers and artists.
Yeah,
it's a Facebook group. A very messy Facebook group, but
very messy. And I was like, all right, if somebody wants to give me like a shot, then I'll just you know, I'm not going to be working for the big two immediately or anything, but if somebody wants me to give me a shot and I can practice, because that's what I wanted to do, then you never know. So I just made a post about me wanting to do some art. I think there was a link to my Instagram page. I have no following on Instagram still. I don't understand the algorithm there, but and it's contacted me, and he was like, I love your style, would you be willing to work with me? And I was like, yes, but you know, I have no experience, and but I really want to work hard and make it so, and you know, get our books onto shelves, because that's my dream. You know, I want to be able to look at my book closet and be like, I made that, or go to a comic book shop and be like, I made that. We shared that dream, so we really worked hard for it.
So Ines, when you got that message, how did you feel? Like, did you know that was the artist you were looking for right then and there? So
I contacted Dennis for Ultralife, the miniseries that we're working on together. Like, Etheris was not in the pipeline.
Wow.
Yeah. I was deep working on Eleutherimania at that point, and I wanted to do Ultralife, and I thought his style was perfect for it. It still is. Obviously, we're working on it together. But then, like, as we were working on Eleutherimania, and like we became friends, we were chatting all the time, I was like, until we get to that point where we can actually pull off a full-on miniseries, I have this one shot if you would be interested. And I sent him the script, and you know, he really liked it, so we made it happen. But like my very first email to him was like the first 8 pages for the first issue of Ultralife with a full description of it, and it was like that was the initial project that we were supposed to be working on together. But full circle moment, you know, we are again now.
We're gonna have to put a pin in that, because I definitely want to talk a little bit about that too. It sounds awesome. I'm very excited about it. But let's get to what we're talking about today. So speaking of story and concept, you know, can you give us a little bit about what this book is about?
Okay, Dennis, you want to go for it?
Sure. It's you're better at this than I am, of course.
Well, you've heard me talk about it so many times. You can just bounce. You know, you can just take my words.
Well, the story is about Val. She wakes up from a disgusting rotten egg in the afterlife, and she kind of has to, you know, journey through it and find herself and confront herself and find out why she is there, and you know, confront her sins and her past, basically. But I'm not very good with words, so why are you preaching this to me?
I think you're doing a great job explaining it, to be honest.
Well, I read the script, you know. So
he's like, I know a little something.
I know a little something.
Okay,
real quick, we have Jason over on YouTube too. Congrats on the book, by the way, guys. Jason from Northern Blood as well. So hey, Jason, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Everyone else in the stream, be sure to check out the preview link right here. It is. And be sure to pre-order this. You got about a month left. Jump in on it, and then it's coming out in March. So this book is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, like, I would say it's really a journey about self-discovery and self-loathing. We all have, you know, these thoughts in our heads that are like that sabotage us as we go along in life, and I think it's very important that we face them head on. But in Valerie's case, the main character of this world that we built, she took a bit too long to confront those, and she ended up in this realm where she fully believes that she doesn't deserve anything good. So she ends up in this realm called Etheris, where souls go and they don't belong anywhere else. No heaven, no hell, no underworld, nothing. And she has to go through these trials and tribulations that force her to confront her perception of herself and her reflection of who she thinks she is, and really dive deep into who she is as a character in order to forgive herself for things that she doesn't even know what she did, you know, to just like confront that pain. And that pain comes a lot from trauma, really. Like this self-loathing, it's something that we gain as we go along in life. And when someone has been faced with such horrible conditions through their lives, they are bound to blame themselves for it. You know,
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna be like, I'm the problem. It's you know, it's all because of me.
You know, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
I was gonna say, you know, I find it really interesting, and I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. I'm really sorry. Luthramania was another awesome story about like self-discovery and journey, but breaking away from the chains. So I thought like this story was really interesting, in a sense where you're kind of like realizing like, you know, you need to confront some of those demons and, you know, take them head on instead of, you know, pushing them away. And I, you know, when I was reading it, it was hard for me not to kind of think about how it might have been a metaphor for you. Like, you know, maybe for, you know, like how Luthramania was like kind of like a story, like from, you know, your own experience as well.
I mean, it is because, you know, I chose the topic of death because it's something that's sadly, you know, very close to heart, and something that I've had to experience more so than, you know, maybe other people have had to, coming from where I'm from. So, you know, being around death all the time growing up, it was something that you had to ask yourself, like, what comes after? You know, am I a good person? Am I gonna go to heaven? Am I doing enough? Am I accomplishing enough in my life to leave something behind? So I really wanted to tackle those questions head on, and also explore, you know, self-loathing and how you know your perception of who you are really builds that idea of where you belong at the end.
Yeah, it felt like it felt like a battle against like survivor's guilt almost, in essence.
It kind of is, yeah.
So Dennis, I mean, you got some outstanding like art and colors in this, like, and this is your first book as an artist, like, man,
it's
killing
my
it out the gate.
art. Yes, I've been doing like artwork for most of my life, of course, but this is the first sequential stuff. But I've read so much books that, you know, they're just imprinted in my brain. So I think I'm like a scholar on on visual storytelling.
But so you could read a million books, but that doesn't necessarily equate to having the talent to do it. You nailed it, man. You nailed it. I loved it. Can you give us a little bit about some of your techniques and the different, you know, things you did throughout this book?
Right. Well, this book specifically is very much about emotion and the journey, and like an action book I would tackle differently, but this one is really focused, as you mentioned, on like color and like gradually changing color from page to page and fitting the moods of that. So I really focused on that, which is very important. And like I look at a lot of concept art for video games, for instance, where they like build these tiny drawings, but they're like there's an epic scope in there. Or I look at old vinyl records by psychedelic rock bands, weird dreamscapes, and that's the stuff I was looking at. And what's very important to me is that it looks painterly. Like I don't think a very hard style, as in line work, would work in this book, for instance. It needs to be soft, but that's just my opinion. And the light needs to be overwhelming, and you need to be feeling the what's the word? The pressure and the darkness. Sometimes that's just really what I wanted to convey. So that is my main thing here. It's not like, oh, I used the Loomis method for heads or anything. No, I just wanted to make a mood.
I really love the color palette too. It really like invoked a lot of emotion within myself when I was like examining the art and everything. Was there any particular reasons you went with these color palettes?
Well, just because I think they fit the mood. Yeah. That is the actual reason. Like bright things do not work well with dark moods. Yeah, it's there's no very big theory behind it, but you know, some colors just convey moods best. Like when you look at work of older masters, like there's these in Dutch painting, you have a lot of seascapes, and they have these very dramatic clouds, for instance. Yeah, they all use sort of the same color palette. So you look at that, you think, why is this conveying the mood that it's conveying? And it's usually the colors. So that is mostly my guide for what I pick in the coloring. And I think coloring and pencils, for me, they go hand in hand. So sometimes when I sent roughs over to Ernest, I was like, "This is probably scribbles to you, but there's a plan here." You know.
Yeah, I asked because there was some really deep, like, what I take as you know, items of symbolism within this book. And man, I just, you know, we won't talk about it. I know we're getting a little too close to spoiler territory, but it was just gorgeous. Real quick, we have particular planets over on YouTube, switching from Twitter to YouTube because Twitter stream was lagging anyway. I'm really excited to read the comic. Already pre-ordered it. Awesome. Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go. Very excited about that. Now, speaking of, you know, just how things work together, what was this creative process like between you two? I mean, this was like the first time you guys worked together. Ness, I know you previously have worked on a comic. Dennis, this was your first time working on a book like this. So what was that like for you guys just starting out?
You know, as always, like whenever I start a creative partnership with anybody, I'm always bringing in a partner. I'm not bringing in just someone who's going to be there as a work for hire. I don't want to just someone to do work for hire work. I want them to be passionate about the project, and I want them to really be involved in the creation of it. So I gave my script over to Dennis. It was, you know, it was detailed. There was, you know, every panel had an angle, had a shot, had a, you know, a theme. And I was like, this is all like, here it is, but you do you. Like, I don't care. If you want to change everything, go for it. Like, I trust your vision. And there were lots of changes that were made, you know, by Dennis, and that I think were for the best, of course, because at the end of the day, his vision really matters to me. And I think we, you know, collaboratively, we work together really well on that, because you know, I come from a very like film background, so I you know, my shots are very cinematic in that sense. And this book kind of required a different approach to really convey the emotions. And I think Dennis just nailed that on the head. Like, there's the splash pages that we worked on together.
Oh my God, dude, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, okay. So every few pages, there's a splash page with like an entire poem fit on it, and these splash pages kind of convey Valerie's memories. And we really wanted to make sure that each one of them stood out. And there's the one with the glass that Dennis was like the brain behind, really, and just it was a gorgeous collaboration. Over to you, Dennis.
I'm playing a little bit of on-air chicken.
Yeah, our collaboration was like, we've become very good friends. We talk on a daily basis, and also when you work with people, sometimes you just do the work and you try to communicate, and you're like, can we change this? And then 2 or 3 days later, you get something back, yes or no, or could we do this? Or you talk it over, and it was just like we were sitting in the same room together. Over text, just, you know, this would look better. So sometimes I had 2 different sketches, and I was like, well, you know, what do you think about this? Sometimes there was I saw the script, and I was getting to that page, and I would tell Anis, hey, what do you think about like just dramatically changing this, because I feel like this would work better or convey this or that better, and we'd be like yes or no, and but it was just very. We hyped each other up the hell up, you know. And it's not just,
rightfully so, though.
Yeah, and we were like, okay, for me and for us both, I think I just wanted it to be the best it could be, because we wanted to make a book that we would be proud of, and hopefully publishers would be like, all right, let's try and give these guys a chance. That's you know, very important to us too. Not the most important. We just want people to read it and make comics, but. We were talking so much to each other, and we really felt pretty confident. We boost each other's confidence a lot, I think, and we hype each other up constantly. Like on Twitter too, everything on us posts, I'll repost it. We're just very good friends. It's not a collaboration to us. We're just friends.
Yeah, mostly like I can wholeheartedly say I am Dennis's #1 fan. Like I will be sitting there in the bleachers with like a that's the big thumb, just cheering him on.
Oh my
forever.
God, I know, dude. I said your Prince, like whenever I see him, I'm like, dude, why does he have to live like another whole country away? Like, oh man, the Batman one you did was just so gorgeous. I have a spot on my wall reserved for it.
It's actually
reserved
on the way
for it.
over to you.
So we have Peculiar Planets. I'm curious to know where Ines and Dennis get their inspiration from, not just for this story, but also for their other work.
Pain.
You got to suffer a little bit to get on my level.
Yeah, like honestly, for me, making comics and writing is just very cathartic. So I always put in as much pain and trauma as I can possibly into these pages, and I'm like, let me inflict it onto everyone reading. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't write from a happy place. It's very hard for me to write a happy story. Like any story that I write, no matter what genre it is, if it's fantasy, if it's sci-fi, there's always some really dark twist there. Like I
Yeah.
was just telling Dennis yesterday about a story that I came up with an idea for it, and it was like, oh, of course, like it has to end that way. It has to be, it has to be very dark.
It's like, can't you be happy a little bit? Can't this, the protagonist just be a little happy?
Nope. It's gotta be tragic.
See, I even have like a comedy, like romantic comedy book that I want to work on someday, which is like very sci-fi, very very romantic, very funny, but it ends in tragedy as well. Like there has to be like a a sad ending. I can't make you have a happy ending. I just can't.
So Dennis, you have such a unique style, in yourself. What's some of your inspirations as well?
Well, first of all, thank you. That is a big compliment for me. That is important because that was what I always tell myself. If I would have started trying to get into comic books earlier, I would have probably copied other people more. And there's always the imposter syndrome, like I can't draw this, or I can't draw that, or I'm not as good as person X or Y. And that's still here. But I've come to a place where I'm like, okay, this is how I draw. And I'm going to focus on the stuff I think I need to improve on. But this is how I draw. And I love artists that are distinct, that you can just tell it's them. I've researched how to pronounce his name, so this should be right. I love Chris Bachalo, for instance, and I love the span of his career. How he started at Shade the Changing Man, then went over to Generation X, for instance, then went on to the X-Men books, and then, you can just tell whenever there's a new book out, it's his, it's his style. And there's a lot of comic books that look kind of similar, which is fine because that's just the comic book style, I suppose. But I love it when it's distinct a lot. So what I tend to do is nowadays you can just look up stuff. You can watch Instagram Reels and stuff. But I also like to collect books by artists which feature their processes. I watch a lot of that, and I used to emulate them, but now I just try to see how their brain functions. Like if they have a hand, what is the construction they use, and I try to translate that into how I do hands, instead of how they do hands. That's a very big difference, at least mentally. So that is basically how I work nowadays. I can't really tell you one or two artists that are my main influences, but just try to take away from everything I see. That does not. It's not only comics. It's like a book cover artists or concept art for games. Like I said, just general media, sci-fi flicks, whatever. Just if I see something interesting, then I try to think about how to draw that if I can.
Blows my mind that he has imposter syndrome. Blows it out of orbit, because your art is just phenomenal, man. I see big things coming for you both within 2023, 2024, man. We have Jason over on YouTube. Shade the Changing Man was the reason I started writing comics, so had a little bit of love for Shade in chat as well. So picked up by Source Point Press. Can you guys give us a little bit about that as well? How did that go for you when you first submitted?
So we submitted to a bunch of publishers, as one does, and we were giving time for to hear back. So we didn't want to throw our hooks in too many ponds and then risk not getting picked up at all. So we decided to go at it one by one. We pitched to some big names, and we didn't hear back, of course, because at the end of the day, this industry is based on connections and names and how big you are, how big of a following you have. So it's understandable. It's unfortunate, but it's understandable. But eventually, I asked around a lot about different publishers that would be more than happy to publish a newcomer onto the scene. And my options were between Source Point, Scout, Band of Bards. I thought a lot about what different publishers I could go to. And at the end of the day, I felt like looking at their catalog, Source Point was the right fit for this book, because they're not afraid to really push the boundaries and put out something really weird out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we pitched, we submitted just like through their submission forum on their website, and we heard back in no time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Josh probably picked it up and was like, this is fire.
Yeah, they loved it, but they were like, this was back in August. They loved it, but they said that they are completely full for 2023. Like, they don't have a slot for our book, so they don't know when it would come out. And I was really hoping to have the book out in November, because Dennis had a con in Netherlands, and I really wanted like to have our books there. So eventually we were just sitting there not knowing when the book would come out. And then luckily one of the books that they had for the you know, catalog kind of dropped out, or like they didn't manage to get it happen on time. And so we got that slot, and it was March 22nd.
Meant to happen. Meant to happen. That is so awesome. Congratulations, you both. Everyone that is watching, you have the opportunity to pre-order this. Right here is the link to check it out. Please share that on Facebook and Twitter too. Anywhere you could put a social link, we would love to see it there. Word of mouth is 100% free, and getting this to as many people as possible is what we're trying to do today. So Anas, Dennis, it's not just you two on this book. Can we give a shout out to the rest of the creative team?
Absolutely. I cannot sing Michelle's praises enough. Michelle Abinader created the Color of Always anthology and the SWAT Cow gosh, I always, you know, I've been saying the acronym for so long, I literally forgot the actual name.
It's catchy though.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but you know, Michelle, having her on this book has been a gift, and knowing her has been a gift as well. We became very good friends over the course of working on this book together. She really brought a lot of good creative insight to storytelling that I needed. She helped me like tune up the story a lot, make it more punchy, have every sentence land the right way. And she really put a lot of input onto the lettering as well, like where we should place some sentences, how they should flow. And I thought like working with her was amazing. She's also going to be editing the book that we're working on together as well with Dennis. So I'm keeping this team forever. Like these are my people now, you know?
So real quick question though, there was some poetry in this. Like, how was that working around with her? Like, did you see a lot of changes with that, or did everything fit pretty well? I
had a less than savory experience with someone editing my poetry before, which really like, this was for Objects in the Mirror. And I felt like my voice was taken away. You know, poetry at the end of the day is very subjective.
Yes.
There is no correct way to go about writing poetry. And my poetry, as I've always said, is inspired by Arabic poems, which are heavy on rhyme and rhythm and weight. And English poetry, contemporary poetry at least, is very loose. It's very like prose-ish. So when I was working on the poems with her, she was like very insistent, like, no, this is your voice. I'm not taking it away. We literally changed, I think, maybe 2 words in the entire poems. Out of all the 5 poems, maybe like 2 words were changed just to like make it punchier. But that was it. She loved what I was working on. That's the thing that she wanted, that what brought her to the book, is that I shared what we were working on, and she loved it so much. And I was like, come on board then. Like, you know, like she was passionate about the project as much as we are, and I think that's very important.
You know, I really appreciate that explanation too, because I would have never considered the fact that there would be like a different cadence. Because, you know, English isn't your native language, you know, so everything you learned is going to be a little bit different than what we're used to. So that's a whole different, like, new, like, way to look at things in a perspective. Man, this has been such an awesome sit down. I appreciate you two coming on here and breaking down everything. Man, and I love getting you back on in us. And Dennis, this is, you know, I've been waiting to have a chance to kind of have a face-to-face with you as well. So outside of Ethris, you guys are working on another series?
Yes. Dennis, take it away.
Oh, am I supposed to talk about that? Yeah, we're doing a new miniseries. Gee, this is hard for me to explain. I'm not the writer here. Each issue has a different story, but it's all set in the same world. Yes, but they're not coinciding necessarily. They're different at different times, different characters. I don't know how much I can spoil about this actually, but it's very different from Ethers. It has a lot more sci-fi stuff going on,
and it's a lot darker as well. Yeah. So the title that we're going with is Ultralife, which is kind of basically afterlife, but the F is an L, and there's a slash there in the middle, like there's a forward slash. So Afterlife is a 5-issue anthology, each taking place in a world where reality has been confirmed to be a simulation.
Ooh.
And just different stories within that world where people are reacting to this information, how their lives were changed forever. So we have one that's like a nuclear family, a very classic, 1950s Stepford nuclear, household, and how they are engaging with this information. There's a story about a woman who decides to go after the scientist who made this revelation, who basically brought down the entire, world. There are stories that are set deep into the future after this revelation, after like society has completely collapsed and nature has overrun the planet and like taken it over again. And there are so many different stories. They're all about the human condition and how you would react to such tragedy and such, horrible events going on. But at the core of it, it's just the world is a simulation. Nothing we do is real. Nothing we do matters. Fuck it.
Man, I am in love. And Ness, I know you're a gamer too, so I'm feeling a little bit of what is it, Horizon Zero Dawn, like where nature overtakes.
I would say the story with the nature overtakes. I was inspired by the scenery of Horizon and a little bit of like Last of Us Part 2.
Ooh, yeah, let's
like
go.
When they go to Detroit and like it's all overrun with like trees and plants. And there's also this Kipo, the animated series on Netflix.
Yes. My daughter is in love with that show, dude.
Yes. I really want to tell a story.
The bug that gets like super buff and then every time he like sheds his skin. Yes. Yes, that is so cool.
World building in that show and like the way how nature really took over society again, like reclaimed the cities. I love that vision, those visions, and I really wanted to incorporate that into the book.
That is so. And Dennis, I bet you're just like, you can't wait. This sounds like right up your alleyway.
Yeah, this is right up my alleyway. I have some projects going on right now, which I need to finish, and then I'm heading into this, and we're hoping to bring that to the people anytime. The people.
Oh, that is so cool. So I think right now it is time for us to come to our favorite part of the show, and that's where I get to ask you guys for a little bit of advice for anyone who might be watching that is new to the industry, whether it's writing or whether it's art or anything in between. So for anyone who is just getting started with comics and maybe having a little bit of trouble getting going, what type of advice would you offer them just to help them get going? And Nessa, you're the writer, and Dennis, you're the artist. So if the one was trying to be a writer and the one was trying to be an artist, what would you guys say?
Wow, this is hard. We're newcomers too, remember?
So what worked best for you though? You got a book published right now for your first book, man.
Yeah, I think you need to have some form of confidence. There's always self-doubt, and that's okay. You must have self-doubt, or else you're going to be arrogant. But you need to be confident. But I also think you need to have some humility. Do not pressure people too much into reading your stuff. That is very important. I think let it come to you. Be true to yourself. That's basically life lessons, not even artist things. I can't really comment on people's art techniques. I think if you're a beginner, you can still make a good comic. I don't feel like you need to be very skilled in the traditional sense to make a good comic. So there's practice a lot, and don't be an asshole. That's basically my best advice.
Art's like one of those things where the beauty of it is the more you do it, the better you get, right? Like you just got to keep doing it, keep making art, and eventually you'll get where you want to get.
It's just a bit of a hot topic nowadays, but yes, of course, you need to practice. You need to hone your skills if you want to be at a certain level of technique, but also you shouldn't be afraid to put your stuff out there. That's also very important.
So Ines, for someone who's looking to get started with their first script or writing, what advice would you have for them?
Find your community. Like feedback from your peers is honestly the most important thing. I've gotten so much better just showing my stuff to my friends and hearing back from them and seeing how they would change it. I could disagree all I want, but at the end of the day, having that feedback is very important. If you're just starting out, finding your community, finding peers in this indie scene, people who are just starting out just like you could bounce ideas off each other, you could help each other out, you could help each other grow. It's extremely important. I can say confidently, I would not be where I am without the friends that I made along the way. So maybe Etheris was the friend we made along the way.
Yeah, yeah. And man, you've really kind of broke out of your shell with writing too. Like this Ethris feels like you've got so much more involved with like your writing and just like letting yourself kind of go with it, you know?
You know, I saw like the reaction that Eleuthерomania and Objects in the Mirror got, and I knew that I could get weird with it. I knew I could get away with it. I knew I could get like away with very dark stuff, and so I was like, you know, let me just lay it all out there on the table. Like
he like unzips his skin suit, takes it off. Yeah. He's like, let's get ready.
No more shying away with metaphors and abstract imagery. Like this is pain, and you're gonna experience it to the fullest.
No, that is so awesome. And that's Dennis. Thank you so much for swinging by and hanging out with us. Everyone watching, right here is the link one last time. Be sure to pre-order this while you still can. I had the chance to read it, and I loved every single page. With that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have a lovely Saturday afternoon, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.